Greetings, Spurs fans. This is Jack H., your host here in the United States of America, and I have three fine guests with me on the Lads It's Tottenham YouTube show. We're going to talk about the Brentford game, look ahead a little bit to the Thursday Europa League conflict that we've got on the calendar. And to join me in this effort tonight is my good friend Gibbo. How you doing tonight?
All right, mate. I hope my setup works properly. And if you hear a load of screaming in the room next door, my son just got the new FIFA for his birthday. So there's lots of shouting and effing and jeffing in there. He's not watching the Tottenham game. He's playing on FIFA. All right. We're looking forward to talking about a league win.
Understood. That's great. I appreciate it. And a long time coming. We've been missing him dearly, our good friend Stu. How are you, mate?
I'm all right. As things go, a few of you guys will know what's been going on, but hopefully I'm back on a more regular basis now, whether that's a good thing or not, given what's been going on this season so far and the current state of the fan base. But hopefully we can have a positive chat tonight after a decent win.
Sounds great. And returning as a guest on the show, we have the other Matt. One we'll call Gibbo. One we're going to call Matt tonight. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thanks for having me on the show again, and I'm looking forward to talking about a good win on the weekend. Yeah.
All right, that's great. And obviously, Dave is interested in whether or not it's any good, Gibbo. I assume you don't have any idea,
mate. I think the last time I played a FIFA or an EA football game was on the Mega Drive. Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's pretty good, David. I've got it, so yeah, it's not bad.
All right, that's excellent. All right, so just as a reminder, everyone, this is our brand now, Lads It's Tottenham. A little self-deprecating humor from our old friend Sir Alex, and it is we're on X at It's Tottenham. So please follow. We'll follow you back, and you make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get the alerts and notifications for all our shows and shorts that we put up. And we'll just jump right into it. We're going to look at, as usual, we're looking at a game review. We'll first talk about the lineup that Ange puts out. This is what we had on Saturday. What do you think, Stu? Were you surprised by anything, or is this exactly the lineup you predicted?
No, I think with the current fitness state of the squad after the. Hang on a minute, I'm just trying to keep up with the days. We had played Coventry at that point, hadn't we? So
yeah, we had.
That was the current fitness state of the squad. So yeah, that was as probably as expected as it was going to be, I think. And yeah, I was happy with that lineup. I'm just trying to bring up the stats so I can have a proper chat about it.
Oh, very posh, getting the stats up.
Look at him coming in with the numbers.
All his numbers. Tech.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Matt, I see some of the comments says I can hear you, but you are a little quiet. So speak up quite loudly and give me your thoughts on when you saw the lineup and whether or not you would have preferred to see something else.
I think with probably the injuries or fitness concerns, I think it was probably what I predicted. And, overall, it's whatever way people, dress it up without Odobert, you probably kind of have to play Johnson, however you feel about him as a player. But I was happy with it, and I think that midfield is really well balanced. And but I'm sure we'll get more into later about what we thought of the midfield. But I think it was quite a predictable team. I don't think you could have really made many more changes. I was happy with it, to be fair.
Well, to be fair, I put out my prediction. I actually did a short for it, and I was actually expecting Bissouma to come in for Bentancur. I was thinking he would help. He was fit, and I know we're looking at a suspension for Bentancur, but I still thought Bissouma would come in. And I wasn't sure whether or not Johnson would get the start. I was thinking he might be seen as a bench player, especially the way he came on last game at Coventry, and that they might actually try and use Sarr as a defensive position and work with better on the counter and put Decky up on the right. But fortunately, I was wrong because Kulusevski, Bentancur, and Maddison had one heck of a game, to say the least. I mean, they were. I mean, other than obviously, we'll get to the goal that was scored before anyone could possibly even know what was happening. Kulusevski, who turned that over, started that sequence. But other than that, he was brilliant all game, I have to admit. I think this is certainly becoming what seems to be our first choice midfield. Stu, that's what you were seeming to suggest, I guess.
Yeah, I think like you just alluded to, Jack, that I think the only change you're going to see is one that's potentially going to be enforced on us with Bentancur having this sort of ban that's going to come at some point. We don't know when. And naturally, I think if Bissouma's fit and ready to go again, then he can fit in. But I think the combination of sort of the energy that especially Kulusevski and Bentancur, the energy those two have, and then the ability for Maddison just to sort of pick up loose balls and then immediately get us on the attack, it just seemed to really click in that game. So unfortunately, again, it's typical with the way things work with us at the moment that, at some point in the very near future, Bentancur is going to drop out. And so, that synergy that all good teams build because they have regular players playing together all the time, that's going to probably go. But so hopefully Bissouma can take on that role as effectively as Bentancur did on Saturday. So, I was really impressed with that midfield.
And Gibbo, is this your preferred midfield, or are you still looking for somebody else to come in?
Yeah, I mean, I like Bissouma. I think Bissouma gets a lot of stick. Yeah, he can be inconsistent, but I quite like him. I think we miss him when he's not there. But that midfield was superb on Saturday, wasn't it? I mean, Bentancur seems to, obviously, they never really had a low block today. And no. I think because of how he moves the ball, Bentancur, I think like low blocks are more difficult for him. But when teams sort of come out and you can play a little bit more, I think it brings the best out of him. I mean, I like Maddison and Kulusevski. I like the thought that, the idea of having those two in there with somebody sitting. So, like Stu said, Bentancur's obviously he's going to get a ban of some sort, isn't he? So Bissouma will just slot in there. But I thought Bissouma would start. But you look at that, mate. You think back four. That's our strongest back four. I think the front three is what Ange sees as his preferred front three. And at the minute, I think Maddison and Kulusevski are the main two, and then it's like I said, choice of Bentancur or Bissouma. But funnily enough, when you look at this, Son, where we've got him on here, but he sort of played inside a little bit more, didn't he? He wasn't hugging touchline or playing wide. He kept dropping into the middle more, didn't he? It was like, I'm not sure if that lineup is how it's shown on this graphic is exactly how we lined up. He tended to drop in a little bit more into the middle, but yeah, I mean that's arguably his best team.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair observation. If you actually watch the game back, you're going to see a lot of instances where neither Son nor Brennan are high and wide, and that was definitely a change, and that was somewhat predicated on the fact that Brentford was so accommodating and not playing exactly a low block and not really pressing either. So it did give some space, but the reality is that I noticed a lot of the runs, a lot of the balls you saw was Son coming from his left into the center to pick a ball. Not getting wide one-on-one with defenders, which quite frankly, neither Johnson or Son have been all that effective. Hey, Matt, I see people might still not be able to hear you. You might want to switch audio just to your regular speakers because they say they're not coming through. So why don't you try that, and I'll come to you in just a second. But yeah, so I think we ought to go ahead and talk about that first goal because Brentford's now 2 scored in the first minute, and as I said, I was actually listening to the game on the radio. And it was interesting that the announcer's reaction was. What do you think, Stu? Were you live sitting down there, and what was your opinion as far? Was there any fault, or was that just great play from Brentford?
No, having a feedback now. A bit annoying. I just started on my seat and conversation with the guys behind me that I know and I heard a big cheer. And thought, well, that's not as it normally is. It normally is a goal. Oh, could have scored. How's that? And then I managed to look at the clock, and it was like 28 seconds or something. So it's better now that Matt's just logged off. So there's something going on with his, I think.
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with his audio.
Oh,
and we lost Gibbo. So
but yeah, I hadn't even realised it was so quick after the whistle went. I barely sort of connected into the game, and it was only when I'd seen the highlights on the way home later on that I'd actually seen how good Mbeumo's goal actually was. The finish. But yeah, defensively it was a bit lax. As soon as we lost the ball on the edge of the box, I thought, oh, hang on a minute, this doesn't look good. And then the speed of which they moved the ball to the side of the pitch and got across on, and obviously Mbeumo volleyed it in very, very skillfully.
Off his shin.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It looked better. It looked better than that in the highlights.
Yeah. So when I watch that, I'm trying to find fault. I'm always trying to pick on someone to see who might have made a mistake, right? And it clearly starts with the turnover from Decky, right? He gives the ball away, which starts a sequence, and then Mad feeds out to their left wing, which is Collins out there.
No,
Potter.
It's
Potter. Yeah, it's Potter. Yeah, it's Potter.
Yeah.
So and he just completely. I mean, I feel bad, but Porro just got abused. I mean, he just gets abused one-on-one, and he swings a great ball in, and Van de Ven is off him by probably a yard. So I could find fault with three players, but at the same time, it was great play from Collins. It was great play from Mbeumo. Sometimes you got to chalk up to the opposition that they did really, really well, or do you think that's just one of these leaky goals that Tottenham's got to figure out how to stop, Matt?
No, I think obviously they scored early last week, didn't they? So they were right on the front foot. The guy turns Porro a couple of ways, doesn't he? Whips a ball in. Van de Ven's a couple of yards off, and it's a really decent finish. I think, should have been switched on. We're not, like Porro has got better at defending, but he's not a great defender, is he? That's not his forte. I just think, luckily enough, it's a minute. You've got 90 odd minutes to get back into it. It's got out the system. And then, to be fair, like even their manager said, they were brilliant for a minute. And then for the next sort of half hour, 40 minutes in that first half, we did to them what that kid did to Porro. We abused them, didn't we? So
yeah, because
just one of them
these
things.
These are the stats. Obviously, what's amazing about this, I couldn't believe it. I assumed it was wrong, but I've seen it reproduced to so many places. This is the first match all season that we actually technically lost the possession battle, and I was astounded by that. It didn't feel that way at all because I felt like for the most part, we gave up some good chances. We'll talk about that, but I couldn't believe that they actually had 52% of the ball because it sure didn't feel that way.
Yeah, that was quite a surprising stat to me, considering the amount of times we won possession off them in the game. To see us ultimately have less possession than them, I thought I was okay. I was really surprised by that. But like Matt said, it was, if you're going to go behind in a game, going behind within a minute is probably a good thing because the reaction of the crowd was really good, I thought, being in there.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Everyone just was like, yeah, okay, come on, let's go. And, the team just went for it after that. I thought the intensity just went right up really, really quickly. No one panicked. We just sort of got into our game and really went at them after that. So yeah, I was really impressed by the reaction. I think one thing that I would say is that their goal reminded me a little bit of the first goal we conceded against Newcastle, where obviously it's a little bit further in the game, but it's just an example of the concentration not being 100%, and then people being slightly out of position, not fully switched on, and then a good bit of play and a good cross goal. So we just got to maybe work on that a little bit, but we can.
Yeah, I think that's fair that you got to be switched on from the minute the whistle goes. But and I think your observation about how the fans, I noticed that too when I was rewatching. It's obviously stunned to silence real quick, and I was worried about the atmosphere getting a little nervy or even potentially boos ringing down from the stands. But quite to the credit of the people in the stadium, they got right back on. You could hear the cheers, you could hear the chants, you could hear the songs pretty much right away, which I think was really, really great. That always makes me feel better, because, you know, when you live in the world of social media, you just start to feel like every fan is just down on the club and down on all the players and down on the manager and da 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 da. But when you get a live audience and you hear them, I think they responded really well, just like the team did.
Yeah, the atmosphere on Saturday was better than the Arsenal game, and the general atmosphere behind the whole game. There was a very positive atmosphere across the whole place on Saturday. So I don't know if that was just sort of a reaction to how things have been in the week and the nervousness after the Coventry game and that performance and all that kind of stuff. There seemed to be a bit of an all general reaction to try and go out and be ultra positive.
I think that's fair. I think that's a good point. And that is all. That's what we want. I mean, the players want the fans to support them, but they have to put in good performances. And so, speaking of performances, Matt, I want to ask you a little bit on your view of Son right now. Son, clearly gets credit with 2 assists, and they were both. Johnson's was just feeding a ball into space. The second assist to Maddison, we'll talk about that goal later, was excellent. It's a good touch, good weight on the pass and everything. But there's 2 instances that lead me to think is Son is he just starting to peak and come on the other side, or is it just not something to worry about? There's a time when he got the ball right outside the 18, fed really well by Maddison, I think. And you see him lining up a curler, and he can hit the near post or the 4 posts from that spot, and he just hit flecking in the hands, right? That's usually a ball you see, bringing the back, not usually, but often hitting the back of the net. And there's the other situation where he was through on goal, and he was actually technically he's run down by 2 center backs. He was through. He took a great ball, and he gets into the box. He slides it across to Johnson. That's late in the second half, and Johnson hits it wide. But I'm just wondering your view on Son right now as far as his form, even though he came off with 2 assists. Are you worried at all, or is this just not something that we should be concerned about?
I just think that this is the version of Son we've got now. The guy's getting older. It happened to Ronaldo. Man United got a different version of Ronaldo towards the end. Obviously, they moved him on. I don't understand the bit where he doesn't shoot, because he should always have that in his locker. He's an elite finisher, and he'll always be an elite finisher. He, like you said, he assists in the games, so he's contributing. But obviously, you're not going to get the all-round game. He doesn't seem to be able to get away from a player now and beat a man one-on-one as often. Whether because that's happening to him, because obviously, and this isn't a knock on him. This is just the way it goes. He's probably had his peak, and now he's probably on going the other way, which is just that's what happens. But maybe a little bit of self-doubt crept in his mind in certain situations, because that one-on-one, once he's in those positions, you're thinking it's going to hit the back of the net, because that's what he does. But I don't think it's anything to be worried about, because I just think this is the Son we've got now. My thinking about it is that now the club have got to start looking at the succession plan. I'm not saying sell Son, but when we haven't got peak Son anymore. We have to accept that. He will still score goals for us this season. He will still contribute in games like he did at the weekend. But we've got a slightly different version of Son now. So put whatever spin you want on it, but that is what we've got now. In as long as he's contributing. But for me, if there's games where he is struggling, where I feel he has over the rest of last season and the start of this season, be nice to be able to bring him out and get somebody else in. Obviously, you're not going to get. It's going to struggle to get anyone who's at that peak of what we had at peak Son. So that's what I prefer. Whether we're there yet or not, I don't know. But this is the Son we've got now.
Yeah, Matt. Let's see how your audio is doing. What are your thoughts on Son? And obviously we've got two people who are supposed to brought into the club to play left wing. That's Werner and Odegaard, and obviously one of those players is not available. I don't know if anyone could update me on what the club said about Odegaard's situation, of how long he's going to be out. But what can you tell us, Matt?
Do I sound better now?
No.
No.
Can't hear you. Yeah, sorry. We'll work it out. We'll work it out. Don't worry about it. We'll get you situated.
Out altogether if you've got speakers or microphone on your laptop.
I tried that.
Okay. Yeah, that was when we were getting the echo. All right. So Stu, you got any views on Son, and the interesting thing is, as far as Werner's concerned, I don't think anyone's got any confidence in him. And then with Odegaard out, then you go all the way down to someone who's basically almost half Son's age.
Yeah,
Mikey Moore.
Yeah, so let's go through all of that. So Odegaard apparently is going to be potentially available after the October international break, so potentially back for West Ham. That's what they've said in the most recent updates. Son, I think, and again, I think you get two really different views of the game when you watch it on TV and when you're watching it live, because you're seeing obviously everything that's happening that's not being shown by the cameras. And for me, Son in most of that game just was barely moving. He was really, really sort of static, not putting loads of work in to try and win the ball back and stuff like that. And obviously then he had those couple of opportunities, which, like you guys have both said that typically, the Son we know would at least get a shot away. And both times it almost seemed like he didn't have the confidence in himself to deliver what he would normally deliver. So I was quite concerned during most of the game about the state that he was in during that game. And it was only obviously afterwards, he's got 2 assists. He's, most of the stat platforms have given him man of the match or the best rating on the day because of the assists and stuff like that. But he is absolutely not that sort of dynamic burst of pace, burst of power winger or sort of wide attacker that we've known for many years. And I agree with Matt. I do think that we have to start planning for what the next stage of that is, and he becomes sort of less relied on, because I know he's captain, but if he's not performing up to the standard that's needed for the whole of the team, then you've got to take that hit and you've got to sort of replace him. But again, the worry we've got in a key position, we don't, Odegaard's injured. Werner's, I've tried to back Werner. The guys in the chat will know this. I've tried to back him a lot over the time that he's been at the club, but the Coventry game just put that to bed for me. He was shocking.
Yeah, and I want to make sure the audience out there is aware we're not down on Son. We're just trying to decide whether or not
that's obvious, though, mate.
Yeah, we love him. He's a legend. I don't want him to leave the club. I want him to retire at Spurs. I'm a little worried that we're be forced to play him so many minutes. If Werner's going to be unavailable from a performance standpoint, Odegaard is going to be out for many, many weeks. I'm just worried about how many minutes that the kids that Son's going to have to play, and that's not going to help his performance through the whole season if we have to play him more than we were really expecting. But no one's down on him. We all love him. Yes, and we've all criticized players regardless. That's just kind of what we do here, right?
He needs to be looked after, doesn't he, Jack? He needs to be helped out. He needs to be helped out. We've had players before where we've kept playing them and burnt them out. We don't want that to happen with Son. We want the best version of Son that we can have.
Right.
Yeah.
So
the traveling that he does for South Korea, he goes off on international breaks and he does thousands of miles of travel. He's the captain, so 9 times out of 10, he'll play 90 minutes in every single international with all the pressure that South Korea have to perform because they're not doing very well at the moment. So it's not just physical fatigue, it's mental fatigue. Yeah. And I think he's not had a proper rest in about 2 years, because if you think about when the last World Cup was, and then they've had the Asian World Cup and there's been all these tournaments that he's been involved in, the guy's barely had a rest. So I think that is playing a problem. I think he is fatigued.
And Stu and Jack, I don't know if you agree. He had his best years playing with arguably the best centre forward in the world, and that's gone now.
Yeah.
He was playing with Kane. Kane was not just brilliant at scoring goals; he was brilliant at assisting goals and setting Son up and dropping deep. And then we haven't got that anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
but
So
we
that's
do.
what I'm saying. It's a completely different. We've got a completely different version of Son for various different reasons. But we need to get the best out of him because we still are trying to compete. And I think that's what we're trying to find. I think if you looked at Saturday, he played slightly different than he has the other games. So maybe we are just trying to get the best out of him. But nobody's down on him.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest, even though Odebear's a young lad who's Odebear or Werner aren't a patch on him.
No.
The people who are backing him up aren't a patch on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Odebear, you can allow it because he's 19.
Yeah.
But you know, Werner's a ghost compared to the level that Son's at, even when Son's not great. You know.
Yep. Yeah, no kidding, no doubt about that. And let's talk about the other person who's been another person who's been taking some criticism from fans and Brennan Johnson. You know, do you think that's the best Brennan's played in a Spurs shirt, Gibbo?
Yeah, maybe he did all right.
Then the question is do you think there's these last two matches are you waiting for this to be a turning point, or are you still not convinced?
Hopefully he scored a good goal. I don't think he was very good against Cov until he scored. He wasn't. But he scored a lovely goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, very lovely.
The goal he scored against Bournemouth, I'd like to see him do that more. But I've said this before on here, and I think HG's agreed with me when he's been on. I don't see anything different in Brennan Johnson than I've seen when I watched him at Forest and what I've seen of him at Spurs before. He's had periods where he's looked good or he's come on his sub, or when there's space to attack, he's much better. But I don't see anything different. You know, I'm well against all, you know, people atting him and him having to like delete social media accounts. I mean, that's just ridiculous. You just shouldn't be doing that to like another human being. It's just nonsense. But professional footballer, they're going to get stick. If their performances haven't been great, they get stick. The you know, with social media and everything now, that it's more prevalent. You see it more. And you know, I'm not really into that. But as a footballer, he was all right, mate. He scored. I don't particularly think he's that great. But if he has a good game, I'll say he had a good game. He scored a good goal. He contributed. The shush in the crowd reminded me of when Chris Armstrong did that when he was at Spurs. And
that was to the
ironically, when Armstrong was getting stick off the crowd and he started acting like Johnson did, it was probably his best period of playing at Spurs. So I'm not saying you should do it, but if that's giving him a bit of motivation and he can kick on from there, I hope he's using it the right way. But yeah, Johnson is Johnson to me. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'd like to see more from a player in that position, but got what we've got.
I think Stu Gibbo points out. I think he picks out the right statement in there, which is when he has space to be played into, he's an extremely dangerous potential attacker. If his finishing it starts to improve, because it is a well-taken goal. The first one he drags across is actually another. I mean, his first shot was close. I thought it was in when he first hit it. It was well taken from almost the same spot. And then he gets another opportunity. And what I love about his goal is that so many times I've watched him get in that position and shoot directly into the defender or try to cross directly into the defender. He actually gives Pinnock a fake, right? Pushes it out another, half a yard, and then slams it in, because Pinnock goes for the block and then tries to recover, and it's too late, and he slams it at the side of the net. So if you can get him into a space like that, and he has some finishing ability, because last season he was by far one of the worst, if you care about this, goal scored to XG. The gap between what the statistic thinks he should score and what he actually scores was one of the biggest in the Premier League. If he can close that, it could make a huge difference for us. So how do you feel? And I know you've been backing Johnson. How do you feel?
Yeah, again, I'll try and back everyone really until they do a Werner, and then it's just impossible to. I think the biggest issue he's had is that he's not had the confidence to do the things that he should be able to do. And a lot of it has been like when you're expecting him to drive into the box or take a man on, he will either try and cross it because he doesn't want to take someone on, or he'll pass it back in an easier pass or something like that. And Saturday, I think that was his most consistent performance across the time he was on the pitch. And his work rate off the ball was really good as well. And he was just looking a lot more he had a lot more intent, where whenever he got the ball, he was trying to really drive into that space that we'd want to see him in. And he wasn't just putting loads of just, blind crosses across the box and stuff like that, which he's been criticised for doing before. And he was just generally very effective in that game. And, like you said, the finish was really good. He'd already had a sighter, which had just gone wide. And the finish was really, really good. So I'm hoping that, as shit as the abuse is that he's got, it's maybe giving him a bit of that sort of thing of I'm going to show them type, mindset, which, he shouldn't get to that point for him to do it. But hopefully that's where he's at. And again, the crowd was really great. The crowd was really supporting him.
Super supportive of him. Super. That's what I hope. That was really pleased to see how well the crowd was behind him.
And stuff like that. And but again, when you got Man United at Old Trafford, if he's starting, those are the games that that's the difference, isn't it? It's one at home against Brentford or Everton or whatever. When you've got to play a tough team away, can he do the same thing? So fingers crossed, this is a bit of a turning point for him. But we'll see. We'll see.
It's interesting. I want to move on to Maddison a little bit, because for me, Maddison had one of the best games in a Spurs shirt ever. I mean, and obviously, I don't want to get too excited or too hopeful, because it's consistency that his dog Matter's career before he came to Tottenham. His availability is one issue, and his consistency and performance, particularly in big games. And right now, every game is big for Tottenham. And you can see from this who scored graphic, I don't know how well the audience can see it, but Maddison gets a 9.42, which is insanely high, but it is the highest score of anyone that they've given to. Now, obviously, Liverpool has half the outfield players. But what was interesting about this is you see Udogie in the spot, and I was surprised by this. But then when I watched back, he didn't do anything dramatically like all that memorable, other than what he was amazingly consistent defensively. He intercepted the ball and won a lot of tackles and was very solid. And if you think back, all the opportunities that they got were pretty much coming down our right side. Damsgaard got a couple of free looks and just couldn't hit the back of the net. When Mbeumo had another really good shot, that was a great hand save from Vicario, but it was all coming down their left, our right. Not much coming down our left. And if you watch back, Udogie had a really good game. But I'll just say for Maddison, he was brilliant. There was a lot of people wondering who the man of the match was. For me, I don't think it was close. Maddison was everywhere. Defensively, he was there. Great passes, great activity, good creativity, all in the box. Matt, we're going to see how your audio is these days. At this point, what is your views on Maddison? We'll see how you sound.
How do I sound now?
Fantastic.
Beautiful, mate.
Beautiful.
Sorry, been absolute. I'm not brilliant with tech, but I'm getting there. But yeah.
Who was your IT consultant I saw backstage?
Oh, that's my other half. So
okay.
Everyone in the comments, she's watching live on her phone now. Just say thank you, Hannah. That would be great.
Thank you, Hannah.
Talking about Maddison. Yeah. I thought he was brilliant. To be honest, I don't think he's been that bad all season. I know we haven't really clicked, but I think overall, I think he's had to drop a bit deeper in more of a deep lying midfield sort of role. But what I quite liked on the weekend is, I think with Bentancur playing, with how confident I saw him play, or at least the 60 minutes he played on Saturday, it let Maddison more naturally go a bit more forward. But I also noticed he kind of switched out with Son a little bit. So in certain parts of the game, Maddison would go out to the left-hand side on the wing. Now, he used to play there for Leicester, and some of his best games there, he would drift in and out. He's harder to pick up. I mean, Ericsson used to drift in wide positions and then come to the middle. So I think now, and anyone who says Ange doesn't make tweaks and little changes, for his game management, I think he's proved that he can move, players around. But obviously, I thought just Maddison, he just seemed to have the bit between his teeth. And even in his post-match interview with Spurs TV, it was he was like, the managers told me I've been playing really well, and there's critics telling me I'm not scoring enough or getting assists.
Oh no, his internet's let him down.
Poor man. No,
he was so well.
Let me tell you something. He was spot on about. I meant to mention. I think I should have pointed that out. How often that
think
basically
we keep it.
Son and Maddison switched places. I think Matt's comment about that. Your internet went out on you a little bit, Matt, but your comment about noticing how Son had dropped in and Matters went up top and how he's played there in the past. I think that was a good observation because it really got him going. They did that very early, and it did cause Brentford a lot of problems because people are starting to pop up places they weren't expecting.
Well, to be fair, that's very similar to how Odegaard and Maddison played in the Everton game. They were doing the very similar thing on the left in that game, which worked obviously really, really well. So it's obviously something they're trying to do, but depending on obviously, whether it's Son, Odegaard or whoever, switching out the personnel. But I saw someone comment about sort of how deep Maddison was receiving the ball and stuff, and I'm not that concerned about that because he's got the ability he can take it, he can spray the ball over the other side of the pitch and all that kind of stuff. It's just him having the people around him to open the rest of the pitch up, and I think that's why, like we were saying at the start of the show, the combination of him, Maddison, Bentancur and Kulusevski is working really, really well because they're all doing their individual jobs, which keeps other players occupied, which then allows Maddison to drive through the pitch and do what he does. But Maddison was winning the ball. He was doing so much in that game. And that's the best I've seen him play for Spurs so far.
And I think, Matt, your comment about he hasn't played poorly, I think he has been good and pretty consistent this year. I was referring more since he got to Spurs. And this is something that I want to ask Gibbo about. It's hard to square these stats, right? All right. Possession first, crosses first, passes in the penalty area first, shots on target first, touches in final third first, and yet league possessions 10th. And we've only, and I say only, given up 5 goals, which is the same number of goals that Man City has given up. I mean, there's only like 4 teams that have given up fewer than 4 goals this season. We've scored 9, yet we're sitting on 7 points. So do you think this is one of those examples where, there's stats and then there's lies, and these are definitely
stats are stats, mate, and they're obviously correct. These people don't very rarely put up stats that are wrong. Maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned, mate, but the only stat I care about is the final score. Like, you've got first all there and we're 10th. Not many games in, really. So, but it's a result. All I care about is results. These average possession, and I mean, didn't Leicester win the league having I bet that when
30% of the ball.
League, I bet their average possession thing wasn't first, was it?
No.
I bet it was even further. I bet it was quite far down. So it's just a load of bollocks to me, really. The main stats are you score more goals than the other team, create more chances, score more goals, and ultimately win the game. But they're just like we're always seeing. They put stats up for everything now, don't they? I mean, they put little dots up on the bottom of the screen now on who's had the last 6 shots. And they're like penalty dots. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, if you like that thing, if you like that sort of stuff, great. I mean, if it said league position first or even second or third and all those other things were first, I'd have been like, we're where we deserve to be and we're really pushing on and, we can build on this. But I look at that and when I look at that stat, it makes me think, so what's going wrong? But I'm not saying anything is wrong. I'm just saying I look at them stats and to me, it's just like, fucking pointless.
Yeah, so the question I want to ask the other guests here, Stu and Matt, I'll give you each a shot at this. Is the league position going to move towards the statistics you see on the board, or is the statistics just an aberration, really, because we have the ball a lot, we cross the ball a lot, and we get the ball in the box a lot, but we actually don't shoot or convert very much. So that this is great to have all these great statistics, but in Matt's term, we're never going to move at the league table because we just don't. We're not clinical enough, and we give up dodgy goals all the time. What is your view, Stu?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because we're only 5 games in, so it's a bit of a, to put that into context. Torino are top of Serie A. It's 5 games into a season. Loads of weird things are happening at this stage. If we were seeing this in like January, February, or something, yeah, you'd be like, okay, this isn't great. But I think all it does is give encouragement, and I know the data guys at the club will be loving that. Depending on what the shot conversion rating is, because I'm pretty sure we won't be first in that. It's just still really early. I mean, that's the thing. I think it just shows that if things click if we get past that last little element, which is have a shot and score a bloody goal, then we'll be all right, because a lot of the other elements are there. But we just got to keep going. Just got to keep plugging away. I think that's the only thing they can do.
Matt, do you think these stats flatter to deceive, or is this actually we're going to start to see us moving up the table because we play good football?
I think looking at these stats, I think it shows it's going in the right direction. I agree with Gibbo that results are the most important thing, but Solanke's off the mark now, so that's hopefully a duck off his back. He can start to look a bit more confident. And like I said, you're just seeing more tweaks, even in the final third, through the midfield. I think Ange is really working on stuff behind the scenes. In an alert to it, that they had worked on the way Brentford play. So all these people that say Ange doesn't, or the coaches don't look at how other teams play and how they can play around that, I think is nonsense. I think if we can keep going with these stats, I think 10 to 15 games, we'll see. I think that's when you can get a real indication of where we'll be at. Let's just see. But there's no, hopefully we can just start being a bit more clinical. And, look, Man City only scored 2 goals against Brentford. We've scored 3. So we could have scored more as well, which is down to that clinical nature again. But look, I think it's positive reading. And if we can start converting our chances and being a lot more clinical, we could be serious.
And defensively more solid. I mean, we still concede bad goals, so that's got to be something.
Do you get where I'm coming from, though? Do you get where I'm coming from? Like,
I get it.
I'm just not a stats guy. I look at those stats, and they probably are great. They probably do mean something to people, people who work stats out. But I just want to win football matches. I know that sounds very old-fashioned, but like you sort of hear Roy Keane say stuff like that, don't you? And like when I first started watching football, the Liverpool team, I bet if you heard Souness talking or whatever, he'd be like, just go out and win football matches. It's no good being the best at possession and being like, if we had all those stats at the end of the season and we finished, where did we finish last year? 5th, but we finished 6th this year. But all our stats were better than last year's. You wouldn't go, yeah, it's been we've progressed this season, because although we've dropped a league place,
you're right.
Possession was 4th best in the league.
Gibbo, you're right. My question is, will the league position start to eventually reflect the stats, or is it just we play brand of football, but it's not, we just don't have the players to convert and be more clinical? That's really the question. And we'll as I said, I think you're right. By Christmas we'll have a much better sense of where we are, obviously, as a club. And I expected us to struggle this year, so I'm not all that surprised. But speaking of struggling a little bit,
oh my God.
We have to talk about this, gentlemen. I don't have any slides of the situation that the dribbling out where we almost conceded again, because what happens is Mickey runs down the ball as he usually does, gains possession, and then slides a nice, easy square pass to Vicario inside his 6. And what's interesting about that play, I'll take this down for a second so I don't confuse people. Interesting about that play is you've got a 4-on, if you include the Vicario, you've got a 4-on-3 against Brentford. They have three people involved in the press. And Mickey gives Vic the ball where he's got some space, but his first touch moves him into pressure, unfortunately, as opposed to just launching the ball, looking up and seeing 3 attackers and just launching the ball on his right foot up the right wing. He turns to his left. And at this point, I'm going to point something. I praised Udogie earlier, but if you watch that sequence back again, Udogie does not make himself an option at all. He stays pinned behind the pressing forward. He doesn't come deep to receive the ball, and he doesn't move to split the defenders to receive the pass. So once Vic turns on his left, he's got nowhere to go. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't then still on his left foot find the sideline as quickly as possible. But you've got that poor decision making, I think, from Vic, although I don't think Udogie helped him out at all. And then this situation develops, which, I think there's not a Spurs fan or anyone in the world who doesn't know that this is a handball. So this was another decision coming out to win a ball high in the box, which we've all criticized him for not commanding his box. He comes out, but then he makes a mess of it. Gibbo, what were you thinking? What was your view?
Just, mate, it's the first one. He's just, I think, because he's told, we play out from the back. He was just reluctant to put his foot through it, which a lot of us probably thought he should do, but he was obviously trying to do the right thing. He's opened his body up. Somebody's got to him quick, and he's not quick enough. I mean, he's okay with the ball at his feet, Vicario, isn't he? But he's not brilliant. Do you know what I mean? He's probably an upgrade on Lloris, but not a massive upgrade on Lloris.
But very similar. Very similar, isn't he?
With his feet, great shot stopper. So, and then he got away with it by making a decent save or two. I mean, and that's just a complete misjudgment, and he's got away with it. It should have been a free kick. I mean, somebody you might know, people were talking about why it shouldn't have been a red card or whatever. I've not heard any of that stuff, but probably should have been a yellow card and definitely a free kick. But I just think he's going to be one of those. Because when I said about the version of Son we've got, I think that's just good. I think that's what Vicario is, mate. I think he's a good goalkeeper. He's got a few flaws to his game, but he's also got some decent upside. So, but at the end of the day, it didn't cost us, did it? It's when it costs us we sort of get upset about it. I mean, I think he gets involved a bit too much. He's always throwing his hands around, and he always looks like he's sort of irate and a bit flappy. I'm not saying he's I'm not saying he's a flappy keeper. I'm just saying he just appears that way. But I think that's just Vicario. The performance we have, that's just what he is.
Well,
Stuart, I think he's a good keeper. I think he's a decent keeper.
I think here's the thing that bothers me or just gives me pause. I mean, Vicario saves us at 2-1 3 separate times. He has 3 great saves because every single shot that Brentford had, all 6 of them were on target. 3 of them weren't a challenge at all. 3 of them were really great saves. I mean, the header off Sade, I mean, that going from one post to the other, he gets hand on that one. It's fantastic. So he saves you at the same time, this sort of thing situation. And no, it's not a red card. Even Thomas Frank in the press conference afterwards says it's not a red card. But are you thinking that the club should be looking around to see if we need to be looking in the transfer market for a goalkeeper?
No, I mean Alisson and Ederson, who are 2 of the supposed best goalkeepers in the league over the last few years, have calamity moments. Every goalkeeper does. They just, for a moment, they just have a brain drop and just do something really weird. And that I just couldn't believe he did it. I just couldn't understand because he didn't have to touch.
He did it in the Coventry game too.
No, that was Fraser Forster. Come on.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. That's right. I've already forgotten.
Yeah, let's compare Vicario to Fraser.
What was it? There was another situation. Wasn't there another game where he came out and clobbered with somebody? Or am I just making that up in my mind? I'm just trying to cover my ignorance here.
Forster clobbered. Dragons in.
Yeah, he did. But I thought there was another game this year that had a collision with Vic and a
Yeah,
defender.
I don't think the stuff that these little moments that Vicario is doing aren't enough to warrant going out and trying to look for a new number. We definitely need a new number 2, 100%. And I'm staggered we've not really done that properly. But look, focusing on Vicario, look, yeah, he had that little clanger there where he's decided to sort of be a basketball player for a minute. And obviously the back pass, the way he received that, I don't think Udogie was expecting him to try and keep the ball, which is why I don't think he moved to try and take the ball, because I was expecting Vicario to just clear it. Mm-hmm. And then I think there was another little moment at some point where he sort of had to make a real sort of desperate last little touch as well. But as you've mentioned, some of the saves that he made, like the sort of Gordon Banks-esque save where he scooped it out of the goal, I don't know how he got that. That was incredible. So he does that just as much. Well, he does it way more than he'll have little sort of, ridiculous moments like that. And yeah.
Matt, do you think Vic still got your confidence, or are you a little worried about his inconsistent or his brain farts here that we see a little bit every once in a while?
I mean, I think every goalkeeper has a brain fart moment in them. I've seen Alisson do it. I think I've seen Edison do it for Man City loads of times. I think Edison's very good with his feet, but I think overall he's actually not a very good shot stopper, really. And he's actually, if he didn't have his passing ability, I don't think he would be, good. I think Vicario is a very good. I think he needs confidence, and they need to work on him claiming, the balls and being a bit more aggressive. But I mean, we get a lot of stick, or Vicario gets a lot of stick for not coming out to claim the ball. I mean, you look at the Man City game yesterday. Edison's pinned in his.
Yeah, I think that's something that actually worries me a little bit about the fact that in the game, the Arsenal game yesterday, that Ederson got picked twice with no call, and the second one cost him a goal.
Yeah. I personally think that's probably a foul, because I think he has been blocked. I don't see how he can just smash through someone, because I've seen Onana do that for Man United against Wolves, and it probably should have been a penalty last year. So, yeah, it's an interesting debate. But I actually think Vicario as well deserves a bit of credit. I think he's pretty good with his feet, to be fair. I've seen him spray 20, 30-yard balls out to Udogie, Mickey van der Ven. I think he's definitely getting better. And a lot of our actual attacks come from him either giving a quick throw out or a quick pass into the midfield, and off they go. So, look, I think he's not a massive problem, but I think a better number 2 than Forster would at least push him a bit more.
No doubt.
Yeah,
100%. 100%. All right, so I think from my vantage point, I think this is the most complete game we've seen Spurs play. I think Brentford's tactics really helped play into it a little bit, quite frankly, because as we've said, they didn't high press exactly, nor did they really go into a low block. They played themselves pretty open and played into our strengths. Certainly, not everyone's going to do that. It'll be interesting to see how United set up on the weekend. But before we get to that wonderful experience, we have a Europa League match, and I realized this when I was trying to look at, back. It's been a long time since we've been in this competition. Yeah. I mean, it's either been Conference League, Champions League, or nothing for a while, right? So we're back in the Europa, and that just screams Pochettino memories to me. And anyway, but we've got a match against a club that not a lot of people know a lot about. So John, our production guru, got this up. So obviously Karabakh is a Azerbaijani team, has been dislocated from their home since the Nagorno-Karabakh War, which I remember studying in graduate school. Hadn't thought about that since then until the slide was produced for us. And all I got to say about this is, thank God it's not an away game. That's a long, long way. In fact, we last played them. Well, this is where they are in the league. This is their last results I don't care about. This is the starting lineup. Nobody cares. Nobody knows any of these. But we did play them in 2015 in a group stage where we won both. So that's the last time we've seen them. Stu, are you going to the game?
I am, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be as big an atmosphere as against Brentford. There was premium seat packages going for £70 or something for that game.
Really?
Yeah. So if you want to go for a cheap night out, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of tickets going, because mine was only £30 for that game. So yeah, I'll go. You know, it's always fun to watch a European game, and I'm praying that we don't start the same sort of lineup that we did against Coventry, because we will probably get spanked. Because that's the thing about Eastern European football teams, is they're good. We don't know about them, we don't see them and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean they aren't a team of good players if you give them an opportunity. And we've been at the hands of a lot of these sort of teams over the years. So I think
we've lost a lot of games to a lot of teams in this
Yeah.
situation before.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
If Ange wants to keep the fans on, he's got to go decent strength in Europa League, because I do think when you look at the other teams in the competition, we've got a good shot, and I think we're favourites, aren't we? We're
amazingly enough, the bookies have got us as favourites to win it, which just tells you what the bookies don't know.
But no, I think it's, again, for me, it's just about getting it's hopefully another win, and I think it's about building confidence in the squad, in the team. Just get that'll be hopefully 3 wins on the bounce before we go and play Man United. So that's what we want. We need a positive night, hopefully a decent 4-0 or something like that.
Well, give me your lineup, Stu. What do you? I'll ask each of you. So start thinking about that, guys. Who do you want to see rolled out, knowing that we've got, a quick turnaround for the United game?
Right. Hang on. Let me bring it up.
Oh, he's got to get his stats up.
No, not stats. I'm just bringing up the squad.
I know who I'm going, Jack. Do you want mine?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Give up
first.
I'm going Vicario, Udogie, Van de Ven, Dragusin, Porro. Then midfield, I'd go Bissouma, Maddison, Kulusevski, Solanke, probably go Johnson, and I think to start off with, I'd give Werner another go, and that because we should be beating them. They're not a very good team. If I'd play Son, but I think he might give Werner another go at home against the poor team. Maybe try and get his confidence up. Just go strong, as strong as you can. I want to see Gray and Bergvall play, but let's get couple of goals up, and then maybe give them a good half hour, even 45 minutes.
Okay, so you've got 3 changes. You're bringing Bissouma in for Bentancur, Werner in for Son, and Dragusin in for Romero. What about you, Matt?
I think it'll be Vicario in goal. I think it'll be Udogie and Porro either side. Then I think it'll be Van de Ven and Dragusin. I think he'll go Bissouma, Bergvall, and I think he might go Kulusevski or Maddison. I'm going to go Kulusevski for that one. And then I will go, probably have to be Werner on the left, because I think, I don't know if Son can play 2 or 3 games each week. Werner on the left, Solanke in the middle. And yeah, probably have to go Johnson, I suppose, on the right. There's no one really else, is there? I mean, I'd love to see Mikey Moore get a go, but I don't think it's going to happen.
All right, Stu, you've had time to plan now.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go with everyone else with Vicario in goal. I'm probably gonna go with Archie Gray right back, Dragusin, Van de Ven, Spence on the left back, Bissouma, probably Kulusevski and Bergvall, and then Solanke, Mikey Moore, Brennan Johnson.
So is that what you think will happen, or what you want to happen?
Well, sure as shit, that ain't what's going to happen. I think that's what I want to happen.
Interesting.
Because I think, I don't know whether he will go that.
One thing you have to realize, you have to play Udogie or Ben Davies at left back, because for some unknown reason that no one can figure out, Spence is not on the Europa League roster.
Oh, forgot about that.
It's easy to forget because it's so stupid.
Yeah, I don't understand that one.
Oh, and the
Yeah,
comments, people,
I
the comments are calling you out on it.
See
All
him
right.
playing when you're playing Man United away next in the league. There's no way he's going to play Porro and Udogie in midweek. No way.
Yeah, I think you're. I think.
By the way, guys, Udogie and Porro are both away at the moment. They're both on Instagram. They're away with their families and stuff, so they're not playing on Thursday. No way.
Well, I definitely think Gray's coming in for Porro. Udogie's still coming back from fitness. I don't know about that. Maybe he will play Ben Davies out there. I don't know, since Spence is not available, which is going to infuriate me. If Dragusin, I'm fine with, but you got to play Mickey. You can't put. We have no choice. I mean, I think by definition he has to play. There's no one else. There's no one else to put in that position. I do think Spasuma will come in. I think Bergvall will play. I think Kulu will probably play, and I think the front line will be. I think you will get Werner, Solanke, and Johnson would be my guess. I don't think Mikey Moore will start. I think those, and we're just going to hope that we're just going to have to hope that they can put it together and don't put in a Coventry performance, because I fear a Coventry-like lineup. But that lineup, when you looked at it on paper, it didn't look terrible. They just played like crap.
It's just too many changes. You can't just chuck 11 players on the pitch you've probably never played together in any kind of way against a really good Coventry are a good team. And if you go up against a really solid championship team and you're not 100%, you get found out very quickly. And we got found out. And it was only when we started tweaking it.
It changed when he put the big guns on, though, didn't it? You know, Kulusevski, Maddison, Son came on, started to have a bit of cohesion, players who can get on the ball and do a bit. Like, I thought Bergvall was good and he was full of endeavour, tried to get on the ball, he wasn't shy, he didn't hide, but he did give it away a lot, didn't he? But he's a young kid coming into the team. You know what I mean? If it was at home, it might have been slightly different. I mean, like you said, Werner was really poor, but I think at home, there won't be as many changes. It's at our place. I don't think they're that good. Get an early goal, take them apart, and bring some other players on.
Yeah. My view of it always is in these sort of games: start strong, go 2-3-0 up, and then
take them off.
I've never understood the logic of starting weaker and then have to try and come back, because even the players you're bringing on are having to put more effort in because they're trying to come back in a game. Do it the other way around. I've never understood.
Or, you know, if you're going to balance it, you know, what I would have, you know, potentially done against Coventry is, if you're going to play someone like Bergvall and Gray, give him a bit of experience alongside him. You know, Gray could have easily learned off someone like Bentancur in the midfield, and you know he could have helped him out. You know, it's the same with Bergvall. Maybe he needs like why not play Kulu with him? They both play an international duty together, and that would give him, you know, that little bit of confidence as well. Like, I don't mind seeing youth, but I think you got to sprinkle it with the experience or the senior players as well.
Yeah. Coventry, the back line, the back four, and then obviously Forster behind them. I think that was too much, and you could tell there was no organisation, no understanding. It was just chaos most of that game with those guys.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So I'll be interested to see what he does roll out. I hope he goes a little bit stronger, and like you're saying, 3 changes, maybe 4 would be ideal. Recognizing there is a quick turnaround for the United game, I get that, but the good news is this is not a group stage game. You should be able to get 3 points even with a weakened team. You don't need to be dominant. You just need to get through it, get the result, and move on.
Win it.
Yeah.
Just win it. I don't care how you do it. Just win it.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Well, I have one more slide that our esteemed producer John W has put up. It's comedy relief. I thought I'd share it with everyone before we exit.
Say no more. Say no more.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys, but that's just,
I had seen that. It's not good.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, listen, with that comedy relief, I'm gonna close the show. I really appreciate. We got 152 people watching. We're broadcasting on multiple platforms. I think we're trying to get through Facebook. We're doing some X broadcasting. So, but if you're on the YouTube, please be sure to like us. be sure to subscribe so you get notifications. We will be back with a instant reaction show on Thursday night. I believe HG Gibbo, you on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll have a show after the match on Thursday, and then I think we'll also get a preview out for the United game on Friday. So we've got a busy week at Lads. It's Tottenham. And I want to thank each one of you, Gibbo. Appreciate you coming on. It was great to see you. Even on your phone, it worked out great.
Yeah. Hopefully, wife will be back on Monday to set my computer up, a bit like the other Matt. So I'll be all right. I won't be sat here looking at a small screen where I can't even read the messages coming through. So, But thanks for having me, Jack. Great host, mate. It's much better than having me hosting. Appreciate it.
No worries. And Matt, I'm glad your IT director was able to get you situated. You sound great because you got great comments. We just need to be able to hear you.
Yeah, no, I'm honestly really sorry about that, but yeah, it's modern technology, eh? But no, yeah, it's all sorted now. So
great.
Yeah,
I love it. All right, and Stuart, it's been great. Only seen you in the chat, but great to see your smiling face again. Look forward to seeing you again on these shows in the future. Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely look forward to it.
All right, guys.
We need to get you on more, Stu. Get back into it.
Yeah, I'll try and get on Friday.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. Well, as always, we like to close these shows one way. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on.